Hi everyone, it's Carissa at Sprinkled with Glitter. I am going to be making a birthday card today, and this is in honor of my birthday weekend, which is this weekend. And I'm going to be using this die set from Paper Tray Ink. It's the One Liners Happy Die Set. I thought I would be using the signature greeting set. I didn't end up using it, but I am going to be using this fabulous paper from Maggie Homes and Crate Paper. This is the Flea Market collection. I found it in my stash the other day, has never been touched, and I have no idea why because it's amazing. So I started out by cutting this die cut, and I used it, I cut two at a time, which is why they're kind of stuck together there, but you can definitely cut these two at a time. I cut it out of some very vanilla cardstock, and I cut it 8 times, and I'm just popping the little letters out. Now you could use the inner portions of those A's and P's and stuff, but I did not want to fuss with that. So I'm going to layer these up, and you've seen me do it before. I started out with my Zig 2-way glue pen, and I decided that wasn't going to go fast enough for me. So I switched over to my Tombow Mono Multi Glue, and this is one of my favorite liquid glues. So I'm just going to add some dots of adhesive into the important parts of this die cut, kind of around the openings at places that it might separate, and then along the top, and I'm going to start layering these up. So once I got that on there, I added the second die cut behind it, and these actually layer up really nicely, those banners. It's really easy to kind of squeeze them together. And then I'll add another one here, and you can see once again, I just add little dots of the glue instead of trying to make lines of it everywhere, and along the top, just dots. And then I'll layer this up again. So I did this 4 times in total at this point. So there are 4 die cuts layered up on here. And I decided that since my card base was going to be a craft colored, I would back the letters with that craft colored cardstock as well. Later on, I'm not sure that this mattered as much because I had planned on sandwiching these in between the letters and the other die cuts at this point, but my plans changed. But anyway, this gives it the illusion that the card base is showing through instead of the pattern papers that I'm going to be using. So then I just took those strips, cut them down into manageable sizes, and then I will just use, again, some liquid glue to attach these to the back of those letters. And this, once again, like I said, just gives it the illusion that the card base is showing through instead of the pattern papers that I'm going to layer up behind it. Once I get those all attached, it is time for the fun part and these fabulous papers. And also I'm going to be using that glitter tape from American Crafts. So I'm just going to bring in my different pattern papers here and trim them at various widths, and just think about the way that you want those patterns to run on your banners as you do this. And just vary the widths. I used a nice mix of big patterns, little patterns, bold patterns, and this blue polka dot is going to be the anchor piece for my happy banner that I'm creating all together. And there you can see that I cut right through those polka dots. And so I'm going to even up that pattern by trimming the top part as well. And so the pattern is nice and even on the strip. So now that I have those all cut, I'm going to kind of lay them in the order. I'm going to trim them down to some more reasonable sizes to work with, and just kind of start arranging them in the order that I think I want them, because my plan is to layer up multiple banners behind this happy sentiment here. So I'm just mixing, making sure that my aquas and my yellows aren't right next to each other, kind of getting an idea of how I want the links. And then I'm going to cut them all into different angles and banner ends there by cutting up the center and cutting from the corner to that center notch. And then I'll just lay a line of adhesive again. Now, the liquid glue was really my friend in this because it allowed me some open time, some play time with those banners. So I'm just adding some liquid glue, and then I'm going to start placing those banners in the order that I had planned and at various links there you can see. So I will not lie to you, that glitter piece was kind of a pain, but that glue will hold it. You just have to be able to hold it in place and allow that to kind of set. So you see me kind of holding it there while I take a peek. And this is the part where I decided that this was not nearly as full and fun as I had imagined. So I decided to bring in some other pattern papers. So you'll see me here, I'm going to bring in the pattern papers. And I'm going to start off with these pieces that are at the top of the pattern paper and just, they're perforated, so I'm just going to rip them off and just start adding some more of those. And the cool thing is they kind of coordinate with the pattern paper that they're attached to. So I know that the pattern papers that I've already used, they're going to work well with that. And then I'm going to start adding even more of these in. And I will cut these at different angles as well, and banner ends and that sort of thing. And I'm just going to start adding more and more banners until I get this really full like I want it. Now, once again, I attach these with liquid glue. So I'm just going to add another line of that liquid glue, and I'm just going to add more banners until it gets as full as I want it. So I'm just kind of turning it over and so I can see how those are sticking out. And you can see how that's kind of coming along, and that was much more the look I was going for. So I went ahead and trimmed off the tops of those along that die cut. Now, because the die cut was nice and thick, this was actually pretty easy. And this is where I thought I was going to sandwich these in, but I decided that the impact of it would actually be greater if I added those to the front instead. So I'm going to go ahead and attach this piece to my polka dot piece there, kind of that anchor piece, and that's going to help hold those other pattern paper banners in as well. I used my grid mat to kind of help me line that up. And then this is again where I started layering up more of those die cuts. Now I could have done this from the beginning, but like I said, my plan had changed. I ended up adding 3 more, so there were 7 die cuts that I used in total. I looked at this and I thought it would be a lot of fun to add more of this gold glitter tape to the front of this. So I just cut off a length off of the roll, and then I brought in my trimmer and just trimmed down a little sliver that I could attach right above that die cut just to bring a little bit more of that gold glitter in. And because this is self-adhesive, all I had to do was pull off the back and then kind of just push it down against that line, and that helped me keep it nice and straight. So I brought in my card base here, and I decided that it needed just some sort of textural element on the bottom. So I brought in this Hero Arts Cling Dot stamp set and some Versamark ink. I'm just inking it up there, and I am just stamping this on the very bottom of the card. And I wasn't really careful to keep the line real straight on this because I am going to be laying that die cut piece across it, and I'll be able to kind of camouflage where that ends. So you can see that just added a little bit, exactly what I thought the card needed. And I added foam dimensional adhesive to the back of this, not because I felt like this piece needed more dimension because that happy die cut is so thick, but because I wanted those pattern paper pieces to be off of the base of the card. I wanted them to float off. And then once again, I just used my grid mat to line that up and place it onto the card front, and then just trimmed off the end. Now that was so thick, it was so hard to cut through. So I would recommend maybe trimming those off to that 5.5-inch length before you kind of layer them up. I added some Studio Calico gold letters just to say B-Day, so it would be a happy birthday card, happy B-Day card, and just added those along the bottom there. And then I brought in some Mint Hint and Coral Bay sequins. These are from Studio Calico, and just kind of sprinkled them all over the card. You've seen me add them like this before. I just used some matte medium, dipped on my craft sheet, dipped those sequins in them, and then just placed them where I wanted them on the card. So that completes my card project for the day. It is probably one of my most favorite cards. I did round that bottom right corner, as you can see there. I have links to all the products used in this project over at my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com. They're also linked in the YouTube description. Thanks for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed this project, and I hope you have a fabulous day. Thanks for watching.